every year when I hauled out. Yeah, it's about 50 a year.
Jeez, I don't feel so bad because he said there's 200.
Yeah, well, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's been 2 years since it was out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a few more than I wanted, but the boat's still gonna sail. Yeah, my zincs weren't looking so good either, but I was planning on going to a feathering prop anyway. I really want that extra eighth of a knot.
It's more than an eighth. Believe me, it's more than an eighth. It's a good half to
Oh,
3/4.
ooh, maybe I will then. I wonder what do you think a feathering prop goes for a boat like mine?
Well, on mine it was, I think that the list price was over 3,000, but then again, the
Yep.
previous owner bought it for me.
Yeah, it's well with the boat market being the way it is, it's tempting to sell Adventure Born. You know, get a big dollars for it now and just upgrade later as things progress. But I don't know. I think I like this boat.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're also at the cusp of the season coming up here.
yeah. So are they going to open up the Bahamas?
Bahamas have more or less been open. I was in the Bahamas. Oh, I was in the Bahamas this season twice actually. And other friends of mine have just gone over and everything. So it's still definitely a doable thing to hop on over there. View options.
Yeah.
Bear
Okay,
with me.
now I see
this is actually my
I see a picture of you and a monster big fish with a yellow tail.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see. Oh, there it is. I just need the chat up. Actually, you know what? I'll just throw the other photos on there right now just to.
Yeah, do you have if you are unable to share them yourself, let me know if you want one of us to share them on your behalf.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna throw them into the chat. Would that work?
That works.
Yeah, just the. Yeah, it looks like it takes them a minute to load them though. But I figure just a couple, and I'll probably upload a few more throughout while we're talking, to give people a sense of it. Actually, you know what? That's a pretty. Yeah, they're moving on there. Yeah, I looked at some of the photos from when we did the delivery of Merlin from Fort Lauderdale to Newport, Rhode Island, and have some good photos from there that I'll be able to share. Yeah, there we go. Don, have you gotten to see any of those photos?
I'm not sure I did. I saw some from the other guys. Yeah, I hope you didn't take any pictures of Jeff and Randy.
Well, coming at you in a moment is our big group photo.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. Should I throw a whole mess of them in there to prove that I've actually sailed somewhere? Let's see. You shot the zoom, John?
Yeah, see if it works. See what you see.
A big fish and a guy.
How's it look on your end, Lynn?
I had my mute on. What I see is a big, beautiful yellowtail. And that's it.
Comes across okay on the iPhone, huh?
It's great on the iPhone. I was hoping that I could put this on my television screen so I could actually see what was going on, but it wasn't working. So I may get out and then get on with my iPad, and that might work better.
Okay.
Anyway, this looks beautiful though, even on my iPhone. Dan the Adventure Man. I'm so excited.
Did that work?
You
still seeing the fish?
Much.
Oh yeah, that's great. Oh, look at you wrestling. Oh my God. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a good one. You guys see the video on it. I got full footage of the thing.
Oh,
It was
I
a heck
love
of a
that.
fight.
It's like
We
you're
had a lot of
dancing.
people, a lot of sushi, a lot of sashimi.
A lot of sushi.
You can slide.
Yeah, you're still eating that sushi.
Team is when they're talking. So
Okay,
you're in
I'm
Fort
muting
Pierce,
myself.
Ian, huh? You're in Fort Pierce?
I am, yeah. Still at the same spot where my boat had the last boat fire with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 months, 3 months ago? 2 months ago? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Was it really? Man,
That is 2
time
months
has been
ago.
flying.
When was it?
Yeah. John, I've got like
November.
10 more that are loading in. I'll probably talk and upload as well. I see Rachel as well. Rachel, how you doing?
Hey,
Rachel's figuring out. There we go.
there we go. I need to unmute. I'm gonna go back on mute though.
So good of you. Actually, hold on. I know I've got a photo of Rachel here somewhere that the group needs to see. Where is it? There we go. It might take a while before it's actually in though. Yeah, my computer's struggling to load all these photos I just put in. But Rachel, do you remember the day me, you, Mark, and Jeff took on Cinco de Mayo? We took a was a More 24.
Oh
out,
yeah, that was a
and,
great
and I
time.
videoed the whole thing.
That was like
Yeah.
up there in one of the
So
best
I
rides.
got
with
one really good photo. Yeah, we were going like, how fast were we going? We were cruising.
the downwind. I'd say we
DW
were going
Spinnaker
14.
flying high and just at least 20 at least.
I don't think I've gone 20 before.
No. A friend of mine here in the Intercoastal Waterway has this this catamaran, pretty small one. No, nothing over the top. I think it's like 22 feet long, but you can live in the hulls. And he says he did 20 knots the other day, and I believe him. The thing's meant for speed, so it would have been pretty good, for sure. What else did I put on here? John, are you getting any of the other photos that I've put into this?
Not yet. No, still just the 2.
Okay. I was gonna say I want to throw one good photo up of my sailboat. Probably it'll just take a few minutes for them to load. I can see them, struggling to load in the chat on my end. Like I said, I got about 10 photos in there. Yeah. While people are waiting, John, is there any way you're able to play my channel trailer? Would that work to stretch a little more time for the first load?
Yeah, let me see here. Out of curiosity, what are you seeing right now? You still seeing you on your paddle boat?
Yep, my paddle or my my kayak, which that
Paddle
photo does
boat?
have significance. Yeah, if you look at my face, you can see that I'm tired of paddling, and it was literally almost this moment in Alaska that made me say, I need to get a sailboat. I am sick of this. So, yeah, the photo's got some bearing.
Do you have blisters going on your hands there then?
Boy, stars everywhere else. I was paddling like 12-hour days. That's when I got my king salmon world record, and yeah, that was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I have an 8mm close-celled wetsuit on, and I'm still freezing cold. And the biggest species of sea lion in the world are up there. And they look white when they come at you. That was fun. And salmon sharks I think salmon sharks are hard to distinguish from a great white. Good times, good times. We might not be able to do the video in this one.
Are you seeing video or no?
I am, but it's super grainy and it's blipping along. It looks like you've got your mute on as well, but it doesn't look very watchable. John, if you've got like a tablet, man, just kind of like, actually, that's not a bad idea.
Our clothes. Yeah, there's some other things.
Hi, I'm Adventure Man Dan. Welcome to. Hey, John?
Yeah.
It's pretty boondocky. How do we feel about? Hold on, let's line it up right. There we go.
Marginal success.
No, it's not on there, right?
Hi, I'm Adventure Man Dan, and welcome to my life's journey. I'm currently embarked aboard my sailboat, Adventure Born, to explore and travel around the world. But things were not always so grand. It all began 6 years ago. While exploring the Central California coast with a GoPro, I discovered my true passion for sharing both my catch and footage with others, sparking my love for adventure traveling. In Southern California, I furthered my passion for adventures in and around the ocean, but I was still craving more, so I traveled into Baja, Mexico. But Baja only fueled my desire to discover more throughout the globe, setting me on a path that would change my life forever and beginning my adventures around the world. Well, that was the most low budget video you guys have ever seen. Anyway, I hope you guys were somewhat able to see that as we were having some technical difficulties in getting it on.
Yeah, it was a good,
okay,
good interlude. Rachel,
well, anyway,
you want to take over?
No, you go.
Can you hear me?
Actually, I think you're already on it.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first WISS seminar. Tonight we have Daniel Byrne. Dan, I met Dan maybe, 3 years ago now? 3 years. Rob Schuyler had me come out into the back deck and meet this guy who just wanted to learn how to sail. And at the time, I was promoting the lasers really pretty hard and probably the only one taking anyone who wanted to go sailing with me out. I was really desperate, but good thing I met Daniel. And after that, he kind of just jumped on board, and we started sailing together on Terry's Moore 104 and Tara, and he was sailing on the Mistress with Evan a little bit, and he really just took to sailing really well. And I think between me yelling at him a lot and as much as he went out, he was just pretty gung-ho. He learned really fast. And it's very amazing to me that he got a mentorship with Don Radcliffe and kind of just got his own boat, and now he's like living the dream out there. And I'm really excited to hear like some more specifics about his boat and what life is like on Adventureborn. There he is. Yes. I'm probably on the other side yelling at him to do something there, like let the main sheet out. Or...
Sheet out, sheet out, sheet in.
Or hike harder. But I'm excited to hear your story, Dan, and I hope everyone enjoys.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate that. Big round of applause for Rachel Cherry, super motivated sailor extraordinaire. Absolutely love it. Thank you guys very much. Yes, so Rachel had it correct. I am Daniel Byrne. I am Adventure Man Dan. That's my online persona, as well as what I write under and such. After doing a lot of world traveling, and then I went up to Alaska actually to spearfish the King Salmon World Record, which I was able to get. I was doing a lot of kayaking, significant amounts of kayaking, and it's just like, there's gotta be a better way, you know? So when I got done with that major trip, I came back down through, and I had routes into Santa Cruz, and I had always wanted to learn how to sail, and in my mission, my next goal in life was going to be to sail around the world. I fervently decided it, and yeah, so there's the kayak. You can see the look of despair in my face. I was getting up at like 2 in the morning, I think, and
okay.
All right.
Okay. And yeah, so it was a tough time. It was a tough time to say the least. But it was character building, and it pushed me to learn how to sail. So I get to Santa Cruz, and I go into the yacht club. My brother had been a bit of a member years before, so I had a little bit of an idea, but not too much. But I went in there. Mind you, by the way, I had no front teeth at the time, and I did not believe in wearing a little like flipper that made me look presentable. So here comes this relatively, well, I must have been, I think 20, because that put me at like 26, which is fairly young for the standards of the yacht club. So here's this young kid with no teeth saying he's gonna sail around the world spearfishing. Nobody has any idea what he's talking about, but Rob Schuyler was great. He introduced me to Rachel. Rachel was great. She took me out on Tara, which was absolutely formative for me to learn the basics of sailing, and the lasers as well, which I really appreciate. The laser, a smaller boat, and you've got no choice. You've got to sail everywhere and do everything. So that was really great. And actually, John Mizell did help out quite a bit too. He checked me out on Tara, and that I remember that day specifically. It was really important. It was a day that I was the one in charge of the boat. It was my first day being a captain, and I'd only been sailing for a couple months, so and only off and on. So it was a really big day for me, and I learned a lot that day. So thank you, John. I appreciate that greatly. But yeah, as time went on, I pretty quickly realized that there's a major difference between racing with a sailboat and cruising with a sailboat. That difference, the Santa Cruz Yacht Club is primarily for racing sailboats, not the best cruising grounds around Santa Cruz, and for myriad reasons, I now know why. So I started talking to some of the leadership there, and I knew I wanted to find a mentor, but there was actually a program set up there, and I met with Rick Diola, I believe. He was really great about taking notes on my goals and aspirations, what I wanted to be doing, and I think at that point, and we do have the man, the myth, the legend, Don Radcliffe here, by the way. Spoiler: he's the one who really put in the time to teach me, the skills I needed to go a lot further. So he ended up, Rick Duell ended up connecting me with Don Radcliffe, and me and him did a few deliveries together on Merlin, going from Santa Cruz to San Francisco, and then coming back down, which was one of the most beautiful sails I've ever had. If any of you guys have done that, the sail down, the wind's usually coming out of the north. You end up going with the wind, so you don't really feel any of the colder temperatures because of the wind. And yeah, it was just absolutely gorgeous. So that was a good first introduction to a little more open ocean sailing, which I really enjoyed. But then probably a couple months later, I got an even better offer. Don said, "Hey, how would you like to get paid to go sailing?" I was like, "Oh, where? Yeah, sure." So we ended up delivering Merlin, the famous Santa Cruz 70, a 68-foot monohull, holds a lot of records, built in Santa Cruz, very, very popular boat. We got to deliver that from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Newport, Rhode Island. Don, not if I get this right, I think we were open ocean for 5 days.
Yeah, it was 1,000 miles in 5 days.
Yeah, it was a good little squeeze. I mostly kept myself busy by just making food the whole time. Seeing how I also got sunburnt pretty much the first day. And that's when I learned that a Dodger is just a beautiful thing, and a Bimini is a beautiful thing on a cruising boat that you plan on, doing a little bit more open ocean sailing on. So I was pretty roasted. So I learned quite a bit then. And then I got back to Santa Cruz, still active within the yacht club, was still taking out Tara quite a bit. Tara was really, really important, again, for teaching me the basics. It's just, it's just big enough of a boat to really be called a boat. A laser is a little too small. There's a lot of basic seamanship that you don't end up learning on that. But Tara, you can make mistakes and you could put dents in other people's boats. That's how it's a boat. Anyway, so I got back. Oh, there we go. That's the photo I wanted to show. I'm pretty sure my GoPro mount is still on that laser. Yeah, man, I mean, you got to learn about heel one way or the other. And thankfully, my boat can't do that. Between the blown out sails and the keel, I think I'm pretty safe from all that. So anyway, so I ended up selling everything I owned in Santa Cruz. I was living in an RV in the middle of the Santa Cruz mountains, and I made a little camper van out of a Honda Odyssey. Drove that across the country. Oh, there we go. There's the Fort Lauderdale trip. Going back a little bit. We got Jeff, Randy, the guy in the red cap, Ron Jeremy lookalike, and I can't remember the gentleman's name. I've kept up with him a little bit. The navigator. He was a cool guy too. A little rough around the edges, but it was a good experience to get an idea of what being out in the open ocean was like. A little bit of navigation I got to learn. I learned quite a bit about the Gulf Stream. Now, thankfully, there was no northerly winds when we were in the Gulf Stream. I can say now that I have done that, and can also say I won't do it again. Another kind of small lesson learned. But anyway, so moving on, I ended up going across the country with my minivan, and I went to Cape Cod. I think it was about the first region I started looking at sailboats, and I went down the East Coast looking at sailboats throughout. The one that I'm on, the one that I got, ended up being the first sailboat that I looked at, but I continued to look at others, made an incredibly low offer. And mind you, throughout this whole process, I think every morning at 11 my time, I would call Don every morning. And, hey, I'm looking at this boat. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And that's a really big theme that I think Rachel wanted me to talk about, and that I need to talk about, that I absolutely would not be on this boat. I would not be. I've done, I think, about 6,000 nautical miles on this sailboat so far. The whole East Coast, the Bahamas and back, and Keys and back, and so on. There's no way this would have been possible if I hadn't had somebody to show me, it's just too many hard lessons to be learned with your own boat. As I just learned today with 200 blisters I apparently have underneath mine. So you're always learning a little bit more. But anyway, so with Don's help, he really helped me key in that this boat that I'm on was the right one for me. It had almost everything that I was looking for in a sailing boat, in a cruising boat. It's got 2 cabins, which was nice, so I could have guests, a good sized salon, You know, it was a comfortable boat, sloop rigged. I didn't really want to catch and want anything else too crazy. 38 feet long, a 5.5 foot draft. Now that I've added some weight to it, which the 5.5 foot draft is very, very, very important for the East Coast and for the Bahamas. Not so much maybe for other places around the world, but I am happy I have this draft. And there she is. There's my beautiful, beautiful boat, and one of my beautiful crew members, Alicia. So yeah, that was actually in Biscayne Bay, just south of Miami. This was during COVID. You know, what would this be? This was probably last May, as we were heading down to the Keys. COVID's definitely thrown a wrench into everybody's plans, including sailors. I would have done the Bahamas again last year to explore a little bit more thoroughly, but COVID's really just thrown too many wrenches. So anyway, moving on with the story though, actually, John, if you have the photo of my sailboat when it was on the hard, to give people kind of an idea, this boat was, well, I had to kind of imagine what it would look like, that it would look like this. Not having much experience with boats at the time, there's just a lot of options out there. You look at any marina, any boatyard, and there's barely going to be two of the same boat, if that. You know, everybody pretty much has a different one, and each boat is a different compromise. It's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned, and probably the only absolute true lessons I've learned about sailboats and boats in general, is that every boat's a compromise. The material that the hull is made out of, the sail style, the sail configuration, the draft, and if nothing else, the actual price of the vessel itself becomes a compromise. So for me, the compromise was a boat small enough that I could single hand, but big enough that I could have multiple crew members on board, because nobody really wants to go sailing around the world by themselves. It's much more fun, I find, to be able to share the experiences. Since I've owned my sailboat, I think I've taken on about 10 different crew members, mostly using my my social media, my YouTube channel. There she is. Yeah, there's my sailboat when it was on the hard. And you can, I mean, at least for me, it had some more plastic on it. You know, it looked a little bit worse for wear. But the boat had good bones, got surveyed. It passed everything. 4 new halyards gone through, which are very, very nice, still holding up very well, no chafe. A skegged rudder was also very important for what I'm doing, because as many people have said, there's two types of sailors: those that have hit bottom and those that are going to, and probably a third, those that lie. Everybody hits bottom, and yeah, it's nice to know that you're not gonna take your rudder out. So yeah, so that ended up being my baby. Threw a paint coat on it, on Don's advice, and it was very good advice. The only thing I really changed on this boat was the anchor. I went from a 35-pound CQR anchor, which Don informed me stands for can't quite reset, to a 45-pound Vulcan Rockna anchor, which has never drug. And actually, I'm going to see, I'll take a few minutes with our current system here, but I have a photo of my anchor not dragging, but bear with me here. But instead, my anchor rode actually getting cut. That was a fun little adventure right there. It'll take a while for that to come in, but anyway. So yeah, so there's been quite a bit that's happened with the boat. Moving kind of a little bit more into it. Bear with me as I kind of go through some of my notes I've already gotten. Oh, there we go. There's it. Yeah, so being a free diver really helped me on that day. I was able to go free diving after my my anchor in a general area, and yeah, that was pretty good. You can see my road there in the dinghy. You can see my dinghy deflating. All part of the fun of going sailing and cruising when you're young. You know, just kind of doing it by the skin of my teeth. But I mean, what a catch! You know, it's not the heaviest fish I brought up, but I think it's the most important fish that I've brought up from the brought up to the surface. So yeah, it was kind of a funny memory, and a lot of lessons learned. So after that, the one lesson I learned is all anchor or all chain rode. There's no reason to have nylon down there to get caught on something. And in this case, what it ended up being was the current pushed against the wind, and it would spin my boat around the road. The road would go underneath between the back of my keel and the hull of my boat. It would floss, and on this day it cut. I got really fortunate. I barely scraped onto Wisteria Island, which is a real it's a real tweaker island, to put it bluntly, in Key West, which is already kind of a crazy place. So it really sets the stage. But I was able to just motor right off. I knew because of, it probably had cut when my crew member brought in only like 10 feet of road, and then a blue Smurf looking road after that. So I knew we'd cut the anchor, so I could motor away without worrying about getting caught in my prop. And yeah, that was a really big learning experience for me, for sure. I think that's something that everybody who cruises has to go through, at least the captain has to go through, is being able to sleep while anchored and not worry about your anchor dragging. I'm still kind of working on it. Anchor alarms definitely help me sleep a little bit better when they work, when they don't go off accidentally. But yeah, it's just kind of part of living the life. So anyway, the way I'm going to do the seminar, by the way, is I'm going to kind of break it up a little bit. I wanted to give you guys, the audience, a chance to chime in with some questions here and there. I don't want to talk straight. So just right now, from some of the things that I've told you guys, at the end, we'll do a full questionnaire. Anything you guys want to know at all, you can ask. But based somewhat on on what I've told you guys so far, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? You can raise your hand, you can type in the chat, you can however it works for you.
Where are you going next?
I will save that for more in depth for the next section, but the short answer is, at the moment, the Bahamas. March 1st is the date I would like to leave the marina, not leave for the Bahamas, but leave the marina. Spend about a week or so just out in front, doing a little bit of cruising, just making sure all my systems work before I do a hard leave, and then over to the Bahamas for the next 4 or 5 months, depending on when I leave, depending on this blister job. Probably coming back about August 1st. That's when I probably won't be able to take the heat anymore. And the hurricanes don't usually set in by then, but even if they did, I would actually rather be mobile and cruising than be back at a marina. It just gives me that option to run somewhere else in the case of a hurricane. So good question. Does anybody else have any questions?
Have you stayed at the same marina, like, since you got your boat? Do you return to the same home marina?
Sort of. It's actually the second marina I've ever been to. When I first bought the boat, and the reason I changed the anchor was so I never had to pay for a marina, because they're a huge cost, and there's a lot of upsides to being out on the anchor. The first time I paid for a marina was Bimini to check in the Bahamas. And then when I came back from Bimini, I knew I couldn't survive the Florida summer, and I needed to have an air conditioner. And after weighing the pros and cons of getting a generator and this and that, I said, a marina sounds great. So I have been staying at the same marina. I was supposed to leave last year to do this same, 4 or 5 month thing, but the COVID situation in the Bahamas was really bad. I'm really happy I didn't. So instead, I went for, I think, a month in the Keys, and then came back. And I've been focusing on refitting my sailboat. I've also been learning to kiteboard, and that's been a lot of fun. I'm doing a lot of other stuff. So yeah, at the moment, I just stay at the same marina, take my boat out. Probably, well, it varies. I think I go as long as a month without taking it out. And then sometimes some friends might come over and might just go check out. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, actually, that's right near. I mean, that's paddleboard distance from my marina, which is really nice. I'm only probably 2 miles from the inlet to the open ocean, which is really nice. And that's something that Florida has that California doesn't. And that was a big reason why I came over to the East Coast. I didn't know any of the ocean over here, versus I've spearfished almost the entire Pacific West Coast of North America, from Baja, California, all of California, Oregon, Washington, and even Alaska. But the East Coast has the Intercoastal Waterway, which this is where this photo is taken as a part of it. And it just, I mean, if there could be a massive storm outside, and you can still be moving along inside, because it's just this channel that goes from, technically, mile marker 0 is in Portsmouth, Virginia, right near Norfolk. And that actually goes down and through and around the Keys, and then you get into the Gulf Coast, the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway. I haven't really checked that one out much, but yeah, just the East Coast is very flexible like that. So that's why I'm over here. I hope that answered your question. Any other questions from anybody?
Hate to ask all the questions here. But I don't think I've seen many 38-foot boats on the hard, and that keel, probably a lot of people know this, but what is the advantage to that? Like, I know you can like not like hit bottom, right? But it just looks, do you find like the sailings any different, or like
Do you mean the
keel just
keel
looks
or the
really-
rudder?
The keel just looks really short. It looks like half size.
Yes, that's a fin keel. It's meant to be. It's extremely wide, and the reason for, I mean, this is a cruising boat, not a racing boat. It is not designed to go particularly fast. The boat is 12 feet wide and it's 38 feet long, so it is a bit beamy, but it's meant to be a little more comfortable. I see what you're saying. If it did have any longer, I mean, it would already seriously limit me. There's plenty of times where I wish I had a shorter keel than this. But truth be told, then when I go and hit the open ocean, I'm happy I have the length of keel that I do. It's another one of those compromises. I would say for the East Coast, and again, this would be a big difference too. The West Coast, where you guys are, there's tons and tons. I mean, you're almost immediately in hundreds of feet of water once you leave the coastline. Over here, the shelf doesn't drop off for a long ways. And if you have, let's just say just like a 7-foot deep draft, or a keel that's going down that deep, your ability to navigate the intercoastal waterway significantly drops off. And as the further you go down from that, Don, I think Don's boat Klondike, I think had like a 9-foot draft. Is that true, Don?
That was 8 feet, and I only did 20 miles of the intercoastal waterway.
Yeah, man, 8 feet, no way. I think that was St. Augustine too that you went through. And again, I mean, I won't have the intercoastal much longer. Then it'll be down to island hopping. But then when I am in the Bahamas, I mean, the anchorages that I can get into that I've seen other boats not be able to get into, it's significant. It really, really is. Just even just a couple more feet. And then on top of that, there's a very popular model of boat. Actually, you do have some of them on the West Coast too, called Gemini catamarans. They're this boxy, short looking. They are not meant for a serious ocean. But their compromise is they have an 18-inch draft when they pull up their dagger boards. That's kind of cool when you think about it. The fact that they can pull up to a mangrove forest, probably tie up to the mangroves and, walk off the boat. So I'm a little envious of them there. It really just comes down to the compromise. I don't think I think my cutoff when I was looking for sailboats was 6 feet. I didn't want anything longer than 6 feet was my hard cutoff. And because I was looking at boats on the East Coast, it was already, most boats were at least 5, if not below 5. If that answers your question of the keel. Does anybody else have any other questions before I move on to the next section? Going once, going twice. All right, I've definitely kind of skipped around the little list that I built. So my show notes are already a little bit off. So I may dive back into a few other topics already here. I did kind of want to go back though to the mentorship thing. I'm not sure where the Santa Cruz Yacht Club is with that now. I do remember, I think is Tim still with the Yacht Club? He was young enough to be a Corinthian member. Remember, he was a really big advocate of it. What that did for me, I mean, and I'll say it again, I would not be where I am. I would not have the boat that I have. I would have gone for a Beneteau Oceanus that needed a ton of work and was horribly mistreated. And I'll do a little boat tour here in a moment. I'll show you guys my engine compartment. And as Don, rightly advised me, that was it's a 2007 Volvo diesel Penta. And I've kept it as clean as the previous owner did. And that was a really big part of it. Who the previous owner was made a massive, massive difference. So yeah, just kind of want to touch on that a little bit more, that I hope that the Santa Cruz Yacht Club is still doing a mentorship program. And I mean, Rachel was a bit of a mentor towards me for sure, in learning the fundamentals of sailing. But Don was that mentor that taught me those extra things about, how to, oh, there we go. Yeah, that's a beautiful shot. For instance, learning racing in Santa Cruz was great, but learning the spinnaker, I probably won't fly a spinnaker on my boat. There's just, I don't need that much power, that much speed. I'm already packing multiple sets for kiteboarding. I have 2 paddle boards on the boat that inflate and deflate. I now have aerial silks for the boat. It's kind of a yoga thing. I do a lot of spearfishing. Spearfishing is probably the main thing that I do Rachel, I'll send you the photo. I see you trying to take a photo with your phone. I'll send it to you. But it was good though to learn the basics of seamanship. And something else that was really good is, especially with the lasers, is I learned how to sail in tight spaces with it. And I think I've only seen other sailors sail on and off the anchor maybe 2 or 3 times. It might have been the same sailor or the same boat once or twice. Most cruising boats my size and bigger, they come into where they want to be. They put the sails down well before they get to their anchorage. They motor in, they get to their spot, they drop the anchor, and they motor back down. And that's great. And I do that too sometimes. But when I did 4 months sailing and cruising in the Bahamas on this boat, I used 40 gallons, I think it was about 40 gallons of diesel for my boat in 4 months. And I covered the vast majority of the Bahamas in that time, more than most people do normally. I mean, I think I'd be better off naming the island groups I didn't make it to. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea on that one. Moving on to other things. Finding the boat, like I said, was a really, really big moment for me. And closing the deal on that. That was another thing where Don helping out. Don is proficient with how do I put it, contract law, and that almost became a very big boo-boo for me. And it's actually a theme I do need to talk about a little bit more further into the seminar, that my plan is to sail around the world and to spearfish around the world and to do my hobbies. Sailing on my boat is that's why I named the boat Adventure Born, spelled with an E. It literally means what brings you to the adventure. But in order to do this, I need to be a sailor, a meteorologist, apparently contract law. You have to know about osmosis on your boat. The past week I learned all about welding. I got to be friends with the welder who did the job for me on the back of my boat, of a whole new structure back there. And how, well, if you're using stainless steel with aluminum, that's asimilar metals, it's going to cause corrosion, and so on and so forth. Learning about your VHF and how that's going to react and everything else. It really is a complicated, vast subject. You're completely self-sufficient. I have run my boat for the past couple of years entirely on solar. I don't like wind generators if I can avoid them. I don't like to use my motor on my boat. It's just how I like to do it. This season, now that I have the proper supports for it up the back above the cockpit, I'm going to be upgrading to about 900 watts of solar, again with Don's help. He came by a little while ago, and I'll be moving away from the flexible solar panels, which, I don't know if you guys knew this, but they can catch your boat on fire. I had a nice little boat fire with Don. Me and Don were just sitting up here in the cockpit, and my bimini just caught right on fire. Yeah, darndest thing. Turns out a flexible solar panel on a flexible surface will eventually crack through, and that crack potentially can light your sombrella on fire. I then got to learn about what sombrella's made out of, seeing as how I had a nice little burn mark over here from the plastic dripping down onto me. So what I'm trying to get at is sailing and cruising around the world is this huge thing. I don't know how people did it without Google. I'm going to have to do it without Google pretty soon. But even with Google, I still talk to the people on my dock. I still try to sort out who actually knows what they're talking about. That's half the battle. There's a lot of sailors that like to talk. There's a lot of sailors that like to talk and drink. So trying to pick those ones out in a way is a really big thing. And even after, I've been away from the East Coast, and haven't been, under Don's supervision, I still seek out other mentors. There's a guy here on the East Coast named Addison Chan, and he's a well-known guy for just helping out other cruisers. And he's given me a lot of sage advice, particularly about the Bahamas. Actually, John, do you have any photos of any of the fish I shot in the Bahamas, or the lobster maybe? I gotta start putting some of these other photos on there so you guys can see the whole reason why I do really what I do is for the fishing, there we go. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. That fed myself, the crew, friends, their friends, everyone's friends for quite a while. That was I think that was like a little bit short of 10 pounds. Caught it by hand, no spear. And you can see by the smile on my face, and it's a little bit of pain because it's starting to actually get into my my suit on that one. Yeah, the Caribbean spiny rock lobster is a pretty strong thing, but the legs on that were like, they might leave the zoom. Yeah, it was very delicious. So this upcoming season, that's actually a major plan of mine. If I have time, I plan on getting a desalinator so I can make my own water with the solar power, coming into my boat. And if I can do that, the hope is to go 4 or 5 months without ever going to a grocery store, without ever going into town, which with the COVID environment really would be the way to do things. Otherwise, I've actually been collecting rainwater. When I was in the Bahamas for 3 months, or for 4 months, the first 3 months, I never had to go to a dock to pay for water. I was able to collect rainwater for a large majority of it, but eventually I did have to go into town. And that seems to be, every boat has something that forces them to go into town. For some boats, it's diesel, because they're just motoring a lot. They're using their generator maybe, or gasoline, same thing. For most boats, it's usually groceries. And that's where I can be quite a bit different than most other sailing boats out there. I usually end up feeding the other boats that are around me. Because of my blogging and because of my YouTube, a lot of boats recognize me. And for the record, I would like to advocate that, because if I ever need anything, a lot of people are there to help me out, which is a really nice thing. And another little topic on that, something I didn't expect when I got into sailing and cruising, was the community of other sailors. I've RV'd from San Diego up to Alaska. I've backpacked around the world. I've done minivan trips across the country, living out of my minivan. But nowhere else have I felt the same sort of camaraderie as I have with other sailors. As long as you don't anchor next to them, just don't anchor next to them. But as long as you don't do that, and you go over in your dinghy and you just say hello, they are some of the nicest, most welcoming people. Nationality has absolutely zero bearing on it. I've been on quite a few French boats, definitely a lot of Canadians, and then obviously a lot of American boats as well. But the hospitality they have, I had a crew member when I was in the Bahamas. She was from the Netherlands, and we pulled into Spanish Wells in the Bahamas. And I said, oh, let's go get some lunch. And she's like, yeah. She's like, well, we can't make it in town. And I'm like, no, there's a boat next to us. We'll just go say hi. And sure enough, as soon as we said hi, they're like, come on up for some lunch, some dinner. So it really is a really cool thing. And it's there's been a lot of things I didn't expect with owning a boat, most of which have been boat projects, which I'm not super thrilled about. But the hospitality and the help from other sailors has been really phenomenal. The one thing I've probably gotten to be well known from other sailors as well is during storms, I don't mind going out in my dinghy and resetting people's anchors by diving down. It's one of the young skills that I have. And then as well, I think all the other older sailors help me with any sort of technical, electrical, this and that. And that's what it ends up being is, if you have, if one boat needs some eggs or some flowers, you help them out, and it just goes back and forth. And it's really great. During COVID, there was this really big sense of lockdown. Myself and I took a crew member, actually who was a nurse, which proved helpful. And we went down to the Florida Keys. I wanted to stay in the U.S. waters, but I wanted to do some real spearfishing, and that was kind of the only choice we had. Compared to the Bahamas, it's not great, but it was something. And we were very isolated. Ended up making friends with this large catamaran, and we spent probably every day together for about 2 weeks. And you end up moving to the next anchorage together, maybe, or you don't, you separate ways. But it ends up being this really great lifestyle of these friends you get very close to. Usually you forget their names, but you remember the boat's name, which is close enough. And that's kind of just how it goes. And it really, it's this beautiful, beautiful thing. And not to say anything bad about racing sailboats. Racing sailboats is fun, but there's the camaraderie is just a different type, I guess. I want to take another quick break for anybody. Love to hear some more questions you guys have, maybe of anything I just covered, and something you'd like to hear a little bit more about. Come on, Rachel. I know you want to ask at least one more question.
I do love your stories. I don't have any questions though.
All right, that's no worries. We'll move on to the next section then. Shoot, I am working through this. Actually, I'm gonna do it on time. Oh, that's all right. We're getting towards the end anyway. so what's next for me and what I plan on doing? I eventually do intend on sailing around the world. I don't know if it will be entirely on this sailboat. I wouldn't mind getting something bigger, something in the 45-foot range. Now that I have the experience, I'd feel much more comfortable with a boat that size. So that is a potentiality. Oh yeah, there we go. That was sailing through New York City. You can see the the skyline on the right and the Statue of Liberty on the left. That was a pretty great time. And actually, I had Jeff Cruzy with me. He is also, or he was at least, a Corinthian, the only crew member I've ever had on the boat that I actually knew before they got there. And that was pretty fantastic. Don in particular gave me a lot of advice on this one as I went through Hell's Gate, I think they call it, as you go from the Long Island Sound over. Did I get that right, Don?
East River.
Yeah, Hell's Gate is the East River. Yeah,
In
it takes you through to Long Island Sound, and there's lots of current.
It absolutely ripped through there. I can say now, though, that I've actually seen more current in the Bahamas. Very interesting. The Bahamians call it the rage. So it's just kind of a cool thing. Wherever you go, there's always something that wants to sink your boat. It's really, really cool, getting to kind of stay on top of that. But yeah, Jeff and myself sailed into New York City pretty early in the morning. And this was during November up there. This was cold. I was not warm the entire time. I don't know how I did it. I've adjusted to Florida too much now, but it was a really, really cool feeling. I've gotten to go a lot of places around the world, but to bring my own sailboat into New York City, and funny enough, I think it was for $25 a night, I got a mooring ball off of 42nd Street, and they had free laundry there and full marina access. So $25 a night, and I got to stay in New York City. How cool is that? You end up getting a lot of little things like that when you go sailing around. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, back to my future plans. Right now I'm doing a bit of a major refit, and that's been a bit of the cycle. When I first got my sailboat, the plan was not to refit it, but instead to sail it, to get out of the cold north, but also to figure out what I wanted on the boat and how I wanted it. The back of my boat, even this photo would look completely different now with what I've just redone to it lately. And refitting your boat is something that you could spend a lifetime doing, getting it absolutely right in each way, every nook and cranny, organizing it. Actually, why don't we do a little boat tour right now? John, if you can put me back on full screen, I'm going to show, now it's dark out, so I won't be able to show the outside of the boat, but let's see here. All right, wow, that thing really zooms in. So this was my navigation station, but I did some woodworking. I don't think we can quite see it, and knocked out what's in front of that chair right there. And instead of being a stool, I added a Staples office chair. I probably spend about 20 hours right there a week editing photos and videos and such for my blog. As well, you can see my instruments for the boat. One thing about my boat, most boats don't have this, but for instance, the RPM gauge right there is down below, which is a bit of an inconvenience. But if I do need to alter these or change them out or maintain them, that actually makes it a little bit easier. As well, my panel right here, this has all my 12 volts on it, as well as voltage and then amperage over here, and VHF and so on. So a pretty useful section. The head, which I just got done redoing, and wow, it looks bright in there, is because I just painted it all. I made sure to put a brand new toilet in it when I got the boat, and I am very happy with that decision. Can't show it too much because this laptop is massive. So from the back of the boat, obviously the companionway where you come down from, and here is the aft cabin. So this boat is a 1984. Not sure how much you guys can see here. This boat is a 1984, which is a bit older, but they had a pretty good layout sense. I've seen a lot of other boats that really had a poor layout. This boat's actually pretty good on that. Here's the full galley. I've got a 2-burner stove as well as oven right there. Sink, I pretty much only use the water pump that pumps out fresh water. I don't like to use the powered water, it's kind of a preference thing. But plenty of space, plenty of countertop space, full fridge right here, as well as just some more storage up and around. this gives you a.
Dan, hold the phone closer to your mouth because we're losing what you're saying.
Oh, thank you. Is that a little bit better? I'll assume it's better. Okay. So this is the salon. I'm having some of my cushions redone, but otherwise, that right there, the booth part you see will actually slide down, and you can sleep 2 people there. Up above that, right through here, is a sea berth. And when you're sailing, especially if you're sailing on a starboard tack, is the most comfortable place on the boat. Really, really cozy. As well as I can sleep one more over there. So this boat in beds at the moment sleeps 8 people. I just did some modifications to my cockpit, so my cockpit can now turn into a bed as well, just for the heck of it. As well, I think I can hang like 5 hammocks throughout the boat. I get pretty crafty with that. So long story short, this boat can handle quite a bit. I just redid the lighting here in the aft or in the V berth. The V berth is master bedroom. This is where I sleep. I can set it up, so it's meant for 2 other people or 1 big bed for me, which is pretty nice. Just added LED rope lighting throughout it. Redid the headliner, which was a major problem and a major selling discount point, if you will. So that was pretty good. That's pretty much the interior. For me, this sailboat was an upgrade in my living space. Most people go to a boat from a house, but for me, I came from a minivan. So for me, this was actually quite a bit extra space. All right. Does anybody have any questions about my beautiful sailboat and my shaky camera skills?
Yeah, I've got a question, Dan.
Sure.
What did you do with all your stuff? You just showed us the inside of the boat, and there's not piles of duffel bags and boxes of food. Where did you hide it before you took those pictures?
Well, this is live now. No, this is actually how my boat sails. I only keep a little bit of loose storage back under here. That has my drone. Oh, and actually I do have one more thing to show you guys. That has my drone and a couple other big ones, but for the most part, I just keep a very, very tidy boat. I'm pretty good about that. And the last one here, I want to show you guys. My engine access is very quick, very easy, as well as having some side access. Another big point to this boat. A lot of sailboats have some strange configuration where you have to pull it apart in all sorts of ways to get into it. This boat's engine access is some of the best that I've seen. Yeah, like I said, I've been able to keep it fairly clean. I know Don can probably see something he doesn't like on it. Like, yeah, I know I got to clean up my raw water, blah, blah, blah. But it runs, and it runs great. The engine only has actually, let's see, under 1,600 hours on it, which is pretty good. I'll do some oil changes and stuff before I leave for the Bahamas. But for the most part, it's both pretty well ready to go. Pretty much ready to go. It's just a matter of what more I want to do to the boat. So, anybody else have any questions?
Not really a question, but I wanted you to kind of go over, like, as a racer, it's really difficult finding crew. And I'm sure for a cruiser, it's equally as hard to find people you want to live with, not just race with. So I was wondering if you could touch on that, like what you've learned, how you choose people who you've been with, some yeses and
no. Great topic. Yeah, so like I said, so I'm a solo sailor in a sense. I own the boat. It's just me. And I take on different crew members. If you guys have seen any of my Facebook posts and such, you would have seen some of them. Some of them look a little better than others, But yeah. So who you end up living with on your sailboat is difficult. Even the best person, but things you can do as a captain can really change things, and who you pick is really big. I have the luxury of having several social media channels that I can pick and choose. I've got about probably 30 applications to go through right now. And I'll post again soon online through a bunch of different avenues, throw my videos and this and that, and I'll have quite a few people respond. So part of it is, I guess as a racer, it would be the equivalent of having the fastest boat at the marina. Is I have a boat that people know is going to go someplace fun. I'm doing a lot of fun things. I'm not just sailing somewhere. I'm like I said, I'm doing kiteboarding and paddle boarding, spearfishing, free diving, free climbing. I mean, it's hard to argue with the lobster photos too. Everybody likes lobsters, so all that matters quite a bit. I've had really good crew. I can only think of one guy that I was just like, what the heck? He was like deaf in one ear, as it turned out. And long story short, he's the reason why now I do video chats before I ever let anybody come on my boat that I haven't met. But besides him tracking a stupid amount of sand onto my boat one time, I felt like Sherlock Holmes almost, like I'm going all the way down in the boat right to his bed, and his feet are just sugar cookies. And I look at him and I'm like, he's like, what? Like, dude, get off my boat. No, it's actually been really good with everybody. I haven't had a problem really with any of my crew. I've been very, very fortunate in that. There definitely are tense moments. And the thing I would say is when you go sailing and racing, you sleep in your own bed, you wake up, provided you're not doing a multi-day race. But you meet at the dock, you go out, you come back. You don't have to be able to live with that person. When you go sailing with somebody, it's far more than living with somebody in a house. My boat has 2 cabins, but still, it's very, very close quarters. The best way to put it, I guess, is that it's just highs and lows. The good times are the best times ever. They're amazing. They're unbelievable. The bad times drag you down and make you reconsider all of your life choices, everyone that led you to the boat. Thankfully, I've gotten better and better at making those moments, less and less and less. But yeah, to find good crew, I would say I'll try to look at their character as much as I can. Try to find people that have gone through struggle. People that want to be on the boat is a really big thing. I found that the more somebody has to do to get to the boat, the more they want to stay. The more they think probably in their mind, like, I'm not just going to give this up because we hit a squall. Squalls are going to come and go. It's simply a part of it. And the other thing that I'll say is there will always be that rock you almost hit or did hit. There will always be, if you go out sailing and cruising, there will always be that tense moment. And then on top of that, I like to jump in the water and play with sharks. So I'm hedging my bets kind of in the wrong direction, but this is how I like to cruise. This is how I like to sail. And this is why I'm sailing. I hope that somewhat answered your topic question, Rachel. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? This is kind of, we're getting towards the end here. I think we are at the end. I didn't want to take too long. Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Well,
Matthew, I recognize you without the hat on.
Yeah, no, I don't have a hat on in the evening.
Weird.
Yeah. But just curious, where are you in Florida now?
So I'm in Fort Pierce, Florida. It's about a half hour north of Stuart, and probably an hour north of West Palm Beach. The reason for that is there's kind of a line you can draw that's just north of West Palm Beach. It's probably actually just north of Jupiter, right about Stuart. The amount of money I would have needed to dock my boat any there would be substantial. I wouldn't be able to do it. The marina I'm at is very inexpensive. I've been very, very fortunate on that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, perfect. John, actually, if you can zoom in, keep going in. Keep going in. You can see, we're going to see my marina. Yep, and then just go up a little bit. Still inside the same, just a little bit more. I can see, funny enough, the marina I'm at is called Safe Harbor Harbor Town. You can see the Harbor Cove and Bar and Grill. That is my marina right over here. Yep, perfect. That's right where I am. Super close to the inlet. I'm able to go kiteboarding all around here, which has become another really big hobby. Spearfishing is not great here, but you can't win them all. And that's what the Bahamas is for. So yeah, I mean, just the other day, I was just in front of here, just ripping it, going back and forth. When COVID initially hit, they closed the beaches and the boat launches around here. But I just launched my paddleboard off the back of my boat and just went whatever I wanted to, or I would take my dinghy out. So yeah, sailboat has really become a great thing in these COVID times. And I know from talking to a lot of people that boat prices are at an all-time high because of that. Boat dealers are selling out. Used boats are going for astronomical prices. Yeah, it's making me kind of consider things. But actually, this is a perfect map. John, if you want to center a little bit more on the Bahamas, boy, I wish I could draw some lines right now, but it's all good. The top cluster of islands you see is the Abacos. I've done quite a bit of spearfishing around through there. And then a little bit down into the left of that top section, you see Freeport. It's Grand Bahamas. Haven't gotten to go into there. That's one of the few places I didn't go into last season. Directly down from where the mouse is, that actually says the Bahamas in big letters. That's actually the least populated island pretty much in the Bahamas. It's called Andros. I loved it. I was there, I think for about a month and a half. I got ciguatera while I was there. That was fun. Did a lot of spearfishing, and it's just a really, really cool place. Very uninhabited, just very wild, which was really, really enjoyable about it. Nassau, that's just over to the right and up a little. That is the capital of the Bahamas. It's the most populated. It reminds me entirely of when I was in Cape Town. Well, just in South Africa in general. A lot of crime there. There and Freeport are the two big cities, and you find a lot of crime there. But all the other islands, it's these island people. And man, I mean, they're just living life very, very slowly and really enjoying it, taking in the moments, not working particularly fast in any particular direction, but that's where I go to, these further off places. And there's sections on here that actually aren't on Google Maps I've spent a lot of time at, and I intend on going back to. The spearfishing there is just untouched and unreached. I haven't quite gone all the way down to where the bottom of this map is, but close to it. Right about where John's mouse is. Yep, right up just north of there where it says Georgetown. That's the furthest south I've gone. It's probably the biggest cruised spot in the world. It's this very, very large bay. People call it the adult summer camp. There's just hundreds of cruising boats there. I got there late in the season, thankfully, and I had a blast there. I tried to get in and get out. It's just, it's not what I'm cruising for. I like to see other boats here and there, but yeah, I mean, this place was an adult summer camp. It was very unique in that. But I met some other great sailors there. Had some other sailors help me fixing, my motor and such. That'd probably be one of my biggest blind spots in my knowledge, as I'm cruising around the world, is in mechanical engineering and engines. And well, I'm gonna learn as things break. That's usually how you learn them in the sailing world. So pretty much the entire Bahamas is fair game for me for this next season. There's places I definitely want to go back to, and not many I don't. Again, just kind of spearfishing throughout all of it. The big question is what do I want to do in 2022? That's going to be an interesting one. My friend and other sailing mentor, Addison Chan, wrote the cruising guide for Cuba, so he's given me some good intel for there. And that interests me. That really sounds like a totally different country. But with COVID going on the way it is, most of us cruisers are really taking it one step at a time. I think I was incredibly lucky to be in Florida for all this. As I understand it, in California, you guys are like shut down. It's business. It looks like business as usual here. It's very, very laid back. Maybe too laid back. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the beauty, I guess, of having the boat, that if I decide I don't like Florida, well, the Gulf Stream pushes north. I can always go up north a little bit quicker. So anyway, any other questions, you guys? This is, and by the way, I'm probably through the bulk of what I have written down here. I covered it in one point or another. So if you guys want to leave now, that's fine. And I'll kind of stick around and just answer any questions anybody else has, or talk about any other topics you guys might have. I'm all ears.
Dan, I have a question. I have two questions. Have you made it out to the Caribbean area, and what is your farthest north that you've gone on the East Coast?
Well, we'll go north first, because that's what my brain wants to do. Furthest north was where I got the boat in Barnstable, which is Cape Cod. I got the boat September 28th, 2018. Funny enough, actually, and again, I really want to highlight this. I bought my boat a year after I learned how to sail. And I sailed it out with somebody who had less experience than me. I probably actually hit the worst storm I've ever hit on my very first day, sailing away from the only safe harbor I knew. That was fun. But anyway, but that's the furthest north I've gone. I don't plan on going up that high for a decade, to put it mildly. I really enjoy being able to never wear shoes, in particular. You know, it's a great thing. I can't tell you how many times me and my crew members have, you know, you go to do these missions inland to go to the grocery store, and you dinghy in, and your dinghy becomes like your car, basically. You dinghy in and you get to shore, and you start walking, and it's like you walk like a mile inland to the grocery store, or however far it is, and then right before you go to get in, you realize you're not wearing any shoes. Oh well, you know, it's kind of nice. So anyway, and as far as the Caribbean, the furthest south I've gone would be Georgetown. And the Bahamas is considered to be the Caribbean, I believe. I'm not sure. Like I said, for my route, I definitely plan on going west around the world. I definitely plan on going through the Panama Canal. Some people have asked if I'm going to go, around South America, and they're crazy. I'm totally good on that for a while. I want to get some more sunshine and some more big fish. That's my goal. But who knows? I have noticed that, you know, from watching other sailing YouTubers and stuff, that it seems that once you do the tropical places, you start to hunger to go back to these more rugged areas. You know, I don't know if anybody here follows sailing vessel Delos. They're one of kind of the original sailing bloggers. You know, they just got done going up to the Antarctic, I believe, this past season, which again, great timing for COVID. So I hope that answers both your questions. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Oh, one comment I'd make, Dan, I would look into getting your COVID injection. I think Florida is doing a better job than definitely most of California, so it's not a bad idea.
So I made it out to the Bahamas last year, actually. Not on my sailboat, on a motor yacht. We had to get COVID tests beforehand and then show up, and and it's changed a little bit, but the program is still the same. Once I'm in the Bahamas and clear, I'm pretty much good to just do my thing for the whole season, and that's that. And then when I come back from the Bahamas, I'll figure it out, actually. It's mostly what you end up doing when you're cruising anyway, much less with COVID. But the vaccine's not as important for us, especially considering the fact that, like I said, without COVID going on, my plan would still be to survive off the ocean. I mean, seafood every night, sushi. I don't know if I've put up any of the photos of some of the sushi dinners that I've done. But yeah, so my plan has always been to stay away from civilization. Well, close enough. Let's see here. But I think in the future that's probably going to be a necessary thing for me to get a COVID test.
So Dan, I have a question for you. Just looking at that fish that's the same size you are, when you catch a fish like this, you have to dress it out. So you do all of that on your boat and store all the fish on your boat then.
So that particular fish was in New Zealand that I did, but yeah. So for my boat, so the one thing my boat didn't have when I bought it was a swim platform. Yeah. Oh, it's not showing the bottom. This is actually, I did a recreation of Da Vinci's Last Supper with all the sushi that I made. This is at a hostel in Cape Town, South Africa. I've definitely found that food is the universal, let's all get together. And that's why it is. But anyway, but to answer your question, I built a swim platform using the ladder off the stern of my boat and supporting it with the dinghy davits. I have since gotten a much beefier system over top, a dinghy davit solar arch forward brow to my bimini of schedule 40 1.5 anodized aluminum. So my swim platform this year will be a little bit better, but basically last year was the year that I did that, the year that I went out with this swim platform, and it made filleting fish a world easier. So what my routine is now is I go spearfishing. I personally gut and gill in the water. It keeps, especially if it's a pelagic fish, especially, keeps the, lets the fish bleed out, which is better for the quality of the meat. I don't get any fishy taste in any of my fish. I can't really go to seafood restaurants. It's weird for me. So you get this fish, it's very, very fresh. I bring it back to the boat, and then the swim platform that's probably about this far off the water, retractable. I fillet it right there on that. I have my bins ready to go. Recently, it's become a bit of a bit of a fun thing is as I throw my fish carcass in the water, whatever I don't use, and I make fish head soup and everything else. I try to use as much of the fish as possible. Obviously, I don't throw the fillets in the water, but as much of the fish as I can. But then when I do throw the frame of the fish in the water, sharks usually come, so I'll do a little bit of shark diving, play with them. I recently got to ride about an 11-foot great hammerhead. That was really special, and I got all that on film as well, so that was a really cool experience. Once I've got the fish all filleted up, I just have some Tupperware down there. I throw that in there. You can just use a bucket or my fin or whatever, and it's really easy to wipe off the swim platform. And then the fillets or whatever, go straight into the fridge. It's pretty rare actually that I eat things really that fresh. It's actually for sushi, it's better if you properly dress the fish, let it rest a little bit, let it chill and then eat it. Me and my last crew member discovered that with Ciro mackerel. It was like eating rubber. We made these sushi rolls and it was like eating rubber. And I was like, oh, and the next day we ate them after they were in the fridge and they were delicious. So I hope that answered your question. I apologize, you guys. I get a little sidetracked here.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all about spearfishing, kiteboarding, sailing? You guys name it. I'll talk about it.
Quick question. You don't have much on your boat, but what toys do you have? Because
I do have much on my boat.
because you mentioned drone, and there's some stuff up top.
Yeah. So going through some of my major things down below, I keep, and you can see, I did some carpentry here. I don't have all my cameras out right now. I keep, 3 GoPros, 2 DSLRs, and then 1 drone, which is a Phantom 4 Professional, which actually takes up quite a bit of space for the interior. As well, I have 3 laptops on the boat. The one I'm using is my latest one for editing. It's a 17-inch laptop. As Don knows, because we ran the numbers on the electrical of the thing, my laptops are half the reason why I'm going to have so much solar on the boat. And then up top, while I'm cruising, I can actually cruise with both of my paddle boards fully inflated, which is really nice. I'm going to have a surfboard basically that I'll primarily use while I'm kiteboarding, as well as a twin tip, which looks like a wakeboard, which I use for kiteboarding. And then I am eventually going to be getting a foil board as well, that foils you up out of the water, which cool thing, a foil board can be towed behind a sailboat. I did it with a friend of mine, and it's kind of the coolest thing you can do with a boat in a lot of ways. So that's really fun. I also have a terrible plan to fly I have a massive 17-meter kite. It's supposed to be for kiteboarding, but I just don't use it because it's too slow of a kite. It's too big and too slow. But I've done some interesting things where I've tied my harness off to the back of the boat, and I've kind of like what they call it, paragliding, paragliding, where you go behind the boat. I've done that while at the anchor, and that's a lot of fun. Kind of stupid, but a lot of fun. And this season, I intend on trying to sail my boat by using that. I don't plan on it going overly well. 1 person on the helm and then me up front flying this massive kite, but it's going to make a hell of a video. And the engine's not going to be running. That's pretty much the only thing that could go wrong, is it could get fouled in the prop. And quick eject system, so I am ready to sacrifice a 17-meter kite for that. Beyond that, like I said, I just recently got aerial silks for the boat. Those of you guys who don't know, if you guys are familiar with Cirque du Soleil, it's more for the ladies on the boat, really, so they can do that while I go spearfishing and stuff. But that's going to be hanging over the bow of the boat. I keep my free climbing gear on the boat, which is just rock climbing shoes and a bag of chalk. The Bahamas has some cliffs that overhang that are nice. That'll probably, though, be better when I get to other areas that just have better rock formations. I am probably like 5 years out from it, but eventually when I get to Thailand, they have some of the best overwater cliffs I've heard to climb. So that'd be really cool. I also keep a foldable bike on the boat that is always turns heads at the marinas because it is belt driven, not a chain. And cruisers are an interesting sort because we have to be mechanically minded to keep everything working on the boat. So when they see it, like, it's really funny because they all kind of short circuit, and then they have to approach me and ask me how it works. It's very funny. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other toys I get on the boat. Of course, I have a trolling rod. My spearfishing gear. I keep a few different pairs of fins, several different wetsuits, as well as rash guards and such, several masks and snorkel. In the Bahamas, I'm using 2 different spears primarily. One's about 12 feet long and the other one's about 10 feet long, as well as a couple backup ones just in case. The Bahamas doesn't allow spear guns. You have to use the pole spear or a Hawaiian sling, which is sort of like the difference between using a crossbow and a bow and arrow. Somebody using a crossbow is going to be much more accurate. So that's kind of how they work it. Weight belt, everything else that goes with that. I've been a minimalist for the last 5 years or so as I've traveled around the world and with a backpack, with a minivan, with an RV and such. So this hasn't been a big adjustment for me. It's actually been more space than I'm used to, more even than my RV. It's just, you have to be willing to make very, very good use of the space here. I recently, like I said, painted my headliner. And when I was in the V-berth, I had to take apart my closet and I discovered dead space. So about 20 minutes later, I cut a hole in that. And now I have an underwear drawer. That's kind of how sailboat life goes. You just pack everything in that you need and you figure it out. For me, I have definitely found, though, and every boat's a little bit different. Most boats are pretty tidy, but I live with my boat always kept together because when you can't find the tool that you need or the stuff you need, it can become dangerous. Let's see. Now I've installed lights within here. The head kind of becomes my work station. I actually changed out this here. This is a piece of starboard, so I can change it out. But you see, I keep my tools hung up, and if you can see the other one over here, it's a bit hard to handle this thing. But yeah, you end up getting very, very, very creative with the space that you do have on your boat, and that's what I've been doing. So I hope that answers your question, Rachel. Does anybody else have any other questions? Happy here to answer them. I see Jamie Thompson's here. Jamie, how you doing? It's good to see you. Jamie was another Corinthian, I think, who learned just a little bit after me. So it's cool seeing the crew. I actually have a question for the yacht club. I'm gonna ask one back to you guys. What is the yacht club doing in this time of COVID, and what are you guys allowed to do? I guess might also be the question.
Anybody
Does
want
Commodore
me to
Tom want to answer that?
Does anybody want me to answer that?
So Dan, the yacht club is during this time, we are in the worst situation in terms of shelter at home. So the yacht club is closed, and it's been closed for a while, and it looks like it's going to stay closed for another 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah. So that means right now, even all the regattas are canceled. So we are anxious to get out on our boats, anxious to get out and race, right? Just to get on the water. Prior to that, when we were in a little bit more open tier, we were able to carry on some regattas. So I'm in the Santa Cruz 27 fleet. The nationals were able to be held back in the fall, late fall rather.
Yeah.
And midwinters happened. But now midwinters are actually, Stefan just announced that the midwinters for next weekend are canceled.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're in a really tight place here.
Yeah, no wonder you guys had me come and speak. I mean, geez.
I was gonna say, Daniel, you're what's happening at the yacht club right now.
Oh no.
There you go, Rachel. That's absolutely true.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to haul out soon too for
here in the last few weeks.
What's that?
You're the most exciting thing that's happened here in the last few weeks.
Oh no, that is bad. Well, I will try to serve you guys well then. And that's heavy. You guys gotta come out to Florida. They don't care about any of this. You just go sailing. You just go whether good or bad, man. No, that is unfortunate though. I am sorry to hear that. Yeah.
California has got it rough right now. Every business is shut down and everybody that is working is not working. It's basically shelter in place here continuously until they can figure out how to get the ICU beds freed up in our state, basically.
Yeah, my girlfriend. My girlfriend.
I was just going to say today.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say today the Board of Supervisors announced that 1 in 5 people tested positive in Santa Cruz.
20%.
20%. So
Wow.
That's why it's as dangerous as it is.
And still they go party.
Wow, that is incredibly high. Yeah, no, the girl I'm seeing right now, she's an ICU nurse, and she could have taken an $11,000 a week contract. That's how high the nursing contracts have gone up to. So yeah, affecting cruising scene in Florida. Somebody would like me to talk about how COVID's affecting the cruising scene. Well, one thing to point out is that a significant number of cruisers are actually Canadian on the East Coast. You can imagine they don't want to deal with the Canadian winter, so they sail their boats down here. I'm not quite sure on the international scene on that. There are other internationals that for years have always come over here. So that's a big part of it. Most East Coast cruisers do this annual migration, and it usually starts up probably just after Christmas. So we've kind of seen the most of it, where they migrate down the East Coast, down the intercoastal, as the season changes, so they can be warm for the winter. They can stay on their boat. There wasn't nearly as much of that. Marinas are much more full because people aren't able to really go as far. It's weird. It's changed some things, but not everything. Everybody cruises a little bit different. I have friends that have everything. They're on $1 million catamarans. Some really good friends of mine that their cat's probably $1 million cat, and they've got water makers, and they've got they got everything. And now I taught them how to spearfish. They're good. It really won't affect them. It's affecting probably the majority of the cruisers that plan on doing Florida and the Keys. A lot of them instead are trying to just stay around Florida as they decide where they can go. But I would say I kind of sit in like the middle class of cruisers, if you will. My boat's not too horribly low budget. It goes much lower budget than mine. It's definitely not a high class boat, but we are able still to go over to the Bahamas, and we are starting to get into the prime cruising time. I have on my ever growing projects list, I have 46 days is my goal to be out of the marina, not out sailing, not out in the Bahamas, but out at the anchor, checking my systems, doing some day sails, making sure the boat does what I want it to before I can really go and leave. And that's the big plan for me right now. And I think a lot of other cruisers are on the similar page. I can think of at least 3 other boats here at the marina that I'm at that intend on sailing out for the Bahamas about the same time. The cruising season here is about really from April to, from March to March, April, May, and a bit of June as well. June is usually when people start coming back, especially with the threat of hurricanes and whatnot. So it's this really great time of year where it's not too hot. It's definitely not going to be cold though, which is nice. And there's no threat of hurricanes. So this is the time over here. This is the time where everybody wants to be on the water. A lot of people come back. The particular marina that I'm at has a lot of just liveaboards that they just never leave. So it's kind of important for me to just try to stick to and talk to the cruisers that are actually the ones going and leaving. And that always seems to be interesting. There's always one more boat project, and for some of you guys late to the seminar here, I discovered a diver today who dives on boats and cleans them. I had him check my zincs and whatnot, which apparently are non-existent. So that, along with 200 blisters, we'll see. But I've had much bigger things stand in my way between going out and sailing. And as a boat builder friend of mine told me, blisters get made to be a huge deal, but no boat has ever sunk because of osmosis. recorded at least. So the Gulf Stream's not that big. I've got an EPIRB and a dinghy, and I'm a heck of a good swimmer. And I only take on crew members who are good swimmers too for similar reasons. So yeah, that is my plan, is to go over and enjoy as much time as I can, be on the anchor. The first year I went over to the Bahamas, I checked in through a marina because that's the only way I knew how. Now I know how to avoid that. So I won't be at a marina for the next 5 months after March 1st is my plan right now. And it's a great way to save money and to never hear, I mean, in the Bahamas, I didn't hear a car for 4 months. Their grocery stores often are the size of your average living room, probably in Santa Cruz, with lots of canned goods. So the US was actually a bit of a shock to me when I came back. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having that shock again. I enjoy where I'm at. The marina I'm at is gorgeous. 70-foot swimming pool, captain's lounge, the works, Amazon delivery. That is some cool stuff. But I'm really looking forward to being able to get back out there, do all my water sports, do some sailing, do some drone shots of it. And I'll be sure to send it all to the Santa Cruz Yacht Club. Make sure you guys know everything you guys are missing. And hopefully see a couple of you guys out there. And actually, and on that note, if any of you are planning on getting into sailing and cruising, I would like to be the person to tell you to talk to Don Radcliffe, who actually knows what he's talking about. Well, yes, actually, no, that is true. No, but if you guys have any other questions, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon. I've got a website. I've got like 5 email addresses. If you type in Adventure Man Dan in your text, I should come up somehow. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm happy to let you guys know anything. If you guys are thinking about buying a boat, I'm happy to tell you guys why you shouldn't. And yeah, I think that about does it for me over here. Unless there's any other last questions, happy to answer. Okay, I got the.
Thank you, Dan. That was awesome. That was just so informative. And if people have more questions, well, I think we put a link up to all your like social media stuff too. So I love following you, and I hope some other people today start. And it's just great to see you too.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And again, a big thank you to Rachel for shooting me the message and making this happen. A big thank you to John for handling the tech side. And of course, again, a big thank you to Don Radcliffe. I would not be here without the man. So yeah, thank you to everybody. And good luck, you guys. Good luck, you guys. Be sure to watch all my YouTube videos. You know, remember how it feels out there. No, hang in there, you guys. Well, all right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna head in for the night. It's a little bit later over here. So you guys all have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dan. Thank you. Next week, same time, same place.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lynn.
Good night.
All right. If anybody wants any mentoring in RVs, we're in Arizona and we've been on the RV for 7 months. So